Yeah, should I start?
Yeah, please.
Okay. The ego in the present moment. The most important, the primordial relationship in your life is your relationship with the now, or rather, with whatever form the now takes, that is to say, what is or what happens. If your relationship with the now is dysfunctional, that dysfunction will be reflected in every relationship and every situation you encounter. The ego could be defined simply in this way: a dysfunctional relationship with the present moment. It is at this moment that you can decide what kind of relationship you want to have with the present moment. Once you have reached a certain level of consciousness, and if you are reading this, you almost certainly have, you are able to decide what kind of a relationship you want to have with the present moment. Do I want the present moment to be my friend or my enemy? The present moment is inseparable from life. So you are really deciding what kind of relationship you want to have with life. Once you have decided you want the present moment to be friend, it is up to you to make the first move. Become friendly toward it, welcome it, no matter in what disguise it comes, and soon you will see the results. Life becomes friendly towards you, people become helpful, circumstances cooperative. One decision changes your entire reality. Yeah, scroll up. But that one decision you have to make again and again and again until it becomes natural to live in such a way. The decision to make the present moment into your friend is the end of the ego. The ego can never be in alignment with the present moment, which is to say, aligned with life, since its very nature compels it to ignore, resist, or devalue the now. Time is what the ego lives on. The stronger the ego, the more time takes over your life. Almost every thought you think is then concerned with past or future, and your sense of self depends on the past for your identity and on the future for its fulfillment. Fear, anxiety, expectation, regret, guilt, anger are the dysfunctions of the time bound state of consciousness. There are three ways in which the ego will treat the present moment: as a means to an end, as an obstacle, or as an enemy. Let us look at them in turn so that when this pattern operates in you, you can recognize it and decide again. To the ego, the present moment is at best only useful as a means to an end. It gets you to some future moment that is considered more important, even though the future never comes except as the present moment and is therefore never more than a thought in your head. In other words, you are not ever fully here because you are always busy trying to get elsewhere. When this pattern becomes more pronounced, and this is very common, the present moment is regarded and treated as if it were an obstacle to be overcome. This is where impatience, frustration, and stress arise. And in our culture, it is many people's everyday reality, their normal state. Life, which is now, is seen as a problem, and you come to inhabit a world of problems that all need to be solved before you can be happy, fulfilled, or really start living, or so you think. The problem is, for every problem that is solved, another one pops up. As long as the present moment is seen as an obstacle, there can be no end to problems. I will be whatever you want me to be, says life or the now. I will treat you the way you treat me. If you see me as a problem, I will be a problem to you. If you treat me as an obstacle, I will be an obstacle. At worst, and this is also very common, the present moment is treated as if it were an enemy. When you hate what you are doing, complain about your surroundings, curse things that are happening or have happened, or when your internal dialogue consists of shoulds and should nots, of blaming and accusing, when you are arguing with what which is always already the case, you are making life into an enemy. And life says, war is what you want, and war is what you get. External reality, which always reflects back to you, your inner state is then experienced as hostile. A vital question to ask yourself frequently is, what is my relationship with the present moment? Then become alert to find out the answer. Am I treating the now as no more than a means to an end? Do I see it as an obstacle? Am I making it into an enemy? Since the present moment is all you ever have, since life is inseparable from the now, what the question really means is, what is my relationship with life? This question is an excellent way of unmasking the ego in you and bringing you into the state of presence. Although the question doesn't embody the absolute truth, ultimately, I and the present moment are one. It is a useful pointer in the right direction. Ask yourself it often until you don't need it anymore. How do you go beyond a dysfunctional relationship with the present moment? The most important thing is to see it in yourself, in your thoughts and actions. In the moment of seeing, of noticing that your relationship with the now is dysfunctional, you are present. The seeing is the arising presence. The moment you see the dysfunction, it begins to dissolve. Some people laugh out loud when they see this. With the seeing comes the power of choice, the choice of saying yes to the now, of making it into your friend. The paradox of time. On the surface, the present moment is what happens. Since what happens changes continuously, it seems that every day of your life consists of thousands of moments in which different things happen. Time is seen as the endless succession of moments, some good, some bad. Yet, if you look more closely, that is to say, through your own immediate experience, you find that there are not many moments at all. That there is only ever this moment. Life is always now. Your entire life unfolds in this constant. Now, even past or future moments only exist when you remember or anticipate them. And you do so by thinking about them in the only moment there is this one. Why does it appear then as if there were many moments? Because the present moment is confused with what happens, confused with content. The space of now is confused with what happens in that space. The confusion of the present moment with content gives rise not only to the illusion of time but also to the illusion of ego. There is a paradox here. On one hand, how can we deny the reality of time? You need it to go from here to there, to prepare a meal, build a house, read this book. You need time to grow up, to learn new things. Whatever you do seems to take time. Everything is subject to it, and eventually, this bloody tyrant time, as Shakespeare calls it, is going to kill you. You could compare it to a raging river that drags you along with it, or a fire in which everything is consumed. I recently met some old friends, a family I had not seen in a long time, and I was shocked when I saw them. I almost asked, "Are you ill? What happened? Who did this to you?" The mother, who walked with a cane, seemed to have shrunk in size, her face shriveled like an old apple. The daughter, who had been full of energy, enthusiasm, and the expectations of youth, when I last saw her, seemed worn out, tired after bringing up three children. Then I remembered almost 30 years had passed since we last met. Time had done this to them, and I am sure they were just as shocked when they saw me. Everything seems to be subject to time, yet it all happens in the now. That is the paradox. Wherever you look, there is plenty of circumstantial evidence for the reality of time. A rotting apple, your face in the bathroom mirror compared to your face in a photo taken 30 years ago. Yet you never find any direct evidence. You never experience time itself. You only ever experience the present moment, or rather, what happens in it. If you go by direct evidence only, then there is no time, and the now is all there ever is. Eliminating time. You cannot make the egoless state into a future goal and then work toward it. All you get is more dissatisfaction, more conflict, because it will always seem that you have not arrived yet, have not attained that state yet. When freedom from ego is your goal for the future, you give yourself more time, and more time means more ego. Look carefully to find out if your spiritual search is a disguised form of ego. Even trying to get rid of yourself can be a disguised search for more, if the getting rid of yourself is made into a future goal. Giving yourself more time is precisely this: giving yourself more time. Time, that is to say, past and future, is what the false mind made self, the ego, lives on. And time is in your mind. It is not something that has an objective existence out there. It is a mind structure needed for sensory perception, indispensable for practical purposes, but the greatest hindrance to knowing yourself. Time is the horizontal dimension of life, the surface layer of reality. Then there is the vertical dimension of depth, accessible to you only through the portal of the present moment. So instead of adding time to yourself, remove time. The elimination of time from your consciousness is the elimination of ego. It is the only true spiritual practice. When we speak of the elimination of time, we are, of course, not referring to clock time, which is the use of time for practical purposes, such as making an appointment or planning a trip. It would be almost impossible to function in this world without clock time. What we are speaking of is the elimination of psychological time, which is the egoic mind's endless preoccupation with past and future, and its unwillingness to be one with life by living in alignment with the inevitable isness of the present moment. Whenever a habitual no to life turns into a yes, whenever you allow this moment to be as it is, you dissolve time as well as ego. For the ego to survive, it must take time, past and future, more important than the present moment. The ego cannot tolerate becoming friendly with the present moment, except briefly just after it got what it wanted. But nothing can satisfy the ego for long. As long as it runs your life, there are two ways of being unhappy. Not getting what you want is one, getting what you want is the other. Whatever is or happens is the form that the now takes. As long as you resist it internally, form, that is to say, the world, is an impenetrable barrier that separates you from who you are beyond form, separates you from the formless one life that you are. When you bring an inner yes to the form the now takes, that the very form becomes a doorway into the formless. The separation between the world and the God dissolves. When you react against the form that life takes at this moment, when you treat the now as a means, an obstacle, or an enemy, you strengthen your own form identity, the ego, hence the ego's reactivity. What is reactivity? Becoming addicted to reaction. The more reactive you are, the more entangled you become with the form. The more identified with form, the stronger the ego. Your being then does not shine through form anymore, or only barely. Through non resistance to form that is in you, which is beyond form, emerges as an all encompassing presence, a silent power far greater than your short lived form identity, the person. It is more deeply who you are than anything in the world of form. Anybody wants to read? Otherwise, I'll continue. If anybody wants to read, please.
Yes. Anyone? Okay. Okay, I'll read. Chal. Yeah.
Okay.
Deepa, you want to continue, Suman? Then you can. Like, not a problem.
Yeah, I can if you and if anybody wants to read or you may. Otherwise, I will read.
Okay. Okay. Go on. Go on.
Okay. The dreamer and the dream. Non-resistance is the key to the greatest power in the universe. Through it, consciousness, spirit, is freed from its imprisonment in form. Inner non-resistance to form, whatever is or happens, is a denial of the absolute reality of form. Resistance makes the world and the things of the world appear more real, more solid, and more lasting than they are, including your own form identity, the ego. It endows the world and the ego with a heaviness and an absolute importance that makes you take yourself and the world very seriously. The play of form is then misperceived as a struggle for survival, and when that is your perception, it becomes your reality. The many things that happen, the many forms that life takes on, are of an ephemeral nature. They are all fleeting things, bodies, and egos, events, situations, thoughts, emotions, desires, ambitions, fears, drama. They come, pretend to be all important, and before you know it, they are gone, dissolved into the know nothingness out of which they came. Were they ever real? Were they ever more than a dream? The dream of form? When we wake up in the morning, the night's dream dissolves, and we say, oh, it was only a dream. It was not real. But something in the dream must have been real. Otherwise, it could not be. When death approaches, we may look back on our life and wonder if it was just another dream. Even now, you may look back on last year's vacation or yesterday's drama and see that it is very similar to last night's dream. Yes, scroll up. There is the dream and there is the dreamer of the dream. The dream is a the dream is a short-lived play of forms. It is the world, relatively real but not absolutely real. Then there is the dreamer, the absolute reality in which the forms come and go. The dreamer is not the person is part of the dream. The dreamer is the substratum in which the dream appears, that which makes the dream possible. It is the absolute behind the relative, the timeless behind time, the consciousness in and behind form. The dreamer is consciousness itself, who you are. To awaken within the dream is our purpose now. When we are awake within the dream, the ego created earth drama comes to an end, and a more benign and wondrous dream arises. This is the new earth. Next is going beyond limitation. In each person's life, there comes a time when he or she pursues growth and expansion on the level of form. This is when you strive to overcome limitation such as physical weakness or financial scarcity. When you acquire new skills and knowledge or through creative action bring something new into this world that is life enhancing for yourself as well as for others. This may be a piece of music or a work of art, a book, a service you provide, a function you perform, a business or organization that you set up or make a vital contribution to. When you are present, when your attention is fully in the now, that presence will flow into and transform what you do. There will be quality and power in it. You are present when what you are doing is not primarily a means to an end, money, prestige, winning, but fulfilling in itself. When there is joy and aliveness in what you do, and of course, you cannot be present unless you become friendly with the present moment. That is the basis for effective action, uncontaminated by negativity. Form means limitation. We are here not only to experience limitation, but also to grow in consciousness by going beyond limitation. Some limitations can be overcome on an external level. There may be other limitations in your life that you have to learn to live with. They can only be overcome internally. Everyone will encounter them sooner or later. Those limitations either keep you trapped in egoic reaction, which means intense unhappiness, or you rise above them internally by uncompromising surrender to what is. That is what they are here to teach. The surrendered state of consciousness opens up the vertical dimension in your life, the dimension of depth. Something will then come forth from that dimension into this world, something of infinite value that otherwise would have remained unmanifested. Some people who surrender to severe limitation become healers or spiritual teachers. Others work selflessly to lessen human suffering or bring some creative gift into this world. In the late 70s, I would have lunch every day with one or two friends in the cafeteria of the Graduate Center at Cambridge University, where I was studying. A man in a wheelchair would sometimes sit at a nearby table, usually accompanied by three or four people. One day, when I was sitting at a table directly opposite me, I could not help but look at them more closely, and I was shocked by what I saw. He seemed almost totally paralyzed. His body was emaciated, his head permanently slumped forward. One of the people accompanying him was carefully putting food in his mouth, a great deal of which would fall out again and be caught on a small plate another man was holding under his chin. Occasionally, the wheelchair bound man would produce unintelligible croaking sounds, and someone would hold an ear close to his mouth and then amazingly would interpret what he was trying to say. Later, I asked my friend whether he knew who he was. Of course, he said he is a professor of mathematics and the people with him are his graduate students. He has motor neuron disease that progressively paralyzes every part of the body. He has been given 5 years at the most. It must be the most dreadful fate that can befall a human being. A few weeks later, as I was leaving the building, he was coming in, and when I held the door open for his electric wheelchair to come through, our eyes met. With surprise, I saw that his eyes were clear. There was no trace in them of unhappiness. I know immediately he had relinquished resistance. He was living in surrender. A number of years later, when buying a newspaper at a kiosk, I was amazed to see him on the front page of a popular international news magazine. Not only was he still alive, but he had by then become the world's most famous theoretical physicist, Stephen Hawking. There was a beautiful line in the article that confirmed what I had sensed when I had looked into his eyes many years earlier. Commenting upon his life, he said, now, with the help of the voice synthesizer, who could have wished for more? The joy of being. Unhappiness or negativity is a disease on our planet. What pollution is on the outer level is negativity on the inner. It is everywhere, not just in places where people don't have enough, but even more so where they have more than enough. Is that surprising? No. The affluent world is even more deeply identified with form, more lost in content, more trapped in ego. People believe themselves to be dependent upon on what happens for their happiness. That is to say, dependent on form. They don't realize that what happens is the most unstable thing in the universe. It changes constantly. They look upon the present moment as either marred by something that has happened and should not have, or as deficient because of something that has not happened but should have. Yes, Mansi, you want to read?
Yeah, I can read if you're reading from a long time now.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't.
Okay.
Nobody wants to read for sure. I think it's too heavy for everyone.
No, no problem. I don't have any problem. Actually, you
No,
are
no, but
I
sharing the
can read.
screen. Okay.
Yeah,
no,
I
no, no
can read.
problem. I can also read, not a problem. Yeah, Deepa, you read then, and then after you, I can go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I just need 1 second. I'll just set my time. Allowing the diminishment of the ego. Are we there?
This paragraph, people believe themselves in,
One
here the
second.
line is yes.
The joy of being. The joy of being.
Yes, yes.
No,
Second para from that.
but four lines remains from the upper para.
So then let's
Okay.
start.
Shall I read from people believe?
People believe themselves. Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. People believe themselves to be dependent on what happens for their happiness. That is to say, dependent on form. They don't realize that what happens is the most unstable thing in the universe. It changes constantly. They look upon the present moment as either marred by something that has happened and shouldn't have, or as a deficient because of something that has not happened but should have. And so they miss the deeper perfection that is inherent in life itself, a perfection that is always already there, that lies beyond what is happening or not happening, beyond form. Accept the present moment and find the perfection that is deeper than any form and untouched by time. Accept the present moment and find the perfection that is deeper than any form and untouched by time. The joy of being, which is the only true happiness, cannot come to you through any form, possession, achievement, person, or event, through anything that happens. That joy cannot come to you ever. It emanates from the formless dimension within you, from consciousness itself, and thus it is one with who you are. I'll just read that last para once more. The joy of being, which is the only true happiness, cannot come to you through any form, possession, achievement, person, or event, through anything that happens. The joy cannot come to you ever. It emanates from the formless dimension within you, from consciousness itself, and thus is one with who you are. Yes. Once. Allowing the dimension of the ego. The ego is always on guard against any kind of perceived dimension. Automatic ego repair mechanisms come.
Diminishment. Diminishment, Deepa. It's the
Diminishment, I'm sorry. Yeah. The ego is always on guard against any kind of perceived diminishment. Automatic ego repair mechanisms come into effect to restore the mental form of me. When someone blames or criticizes me, that to the ego is a diminishment of self, and it will immediately attempt to repair its diminished sense of self thought, self justification, defense, or blaming. Whether the other person is right or wrong is irrelevant to the ego. It is much more interested in self preservation than in the truth. This is the preservation of interest in self preservation than in the truth. This is the preservation of psychological form of me. Even such a normal thing as shouting something back when another driver calls you idiot is an automatic and unconscious ego repair mechanism. One of the most common ego repair mechanism is anger, which causes a temporary but huge ego inflation. All repair mechanisms make perfect sense to the ego but are actually dysfunctional. Those that are most extreme in that dysfunction are physical violence and self delusion in the form of grandiose fantasies. A powerful spiritual practice is consciously to allow the diminishment of ego when it happens without attempting to restore it. I recommend that you experiment with this from time to time. For example, when someone criticizes you, blames you, or calls you names, instead of immediately retaliating or defending yourself, do nothing. Allow the self image to remain diminished and become alert to what that feels like deep inside you. For a few seconds, it may feel uncomfortable as if you had shrunk in size. Then you may sense an inner spaciousness that feels intensely alive. You haven't been diminished at all. In fact, you have expanded. You may then come to an amazing realization when you're seemingly diminished in some way and remain in absolute non reaction, not just extremely, but externally, but not just externally, but also internally. You realize that nothing really has been diminished, and through becoming less, you become more. When you no longer defend or attempt to strengthen the form of yourself, you step out of the identification with form and mental self image. Through becoming less in the ego's perception, you in fact undergo an expansion and make room for being to come forward. True power, who you are beyond form, can then shine through the apparently weakened form. This is what Jesus means when he says, deny yourself or turn the other cheek. This does not mean, of course, that you invite abuse or turn yourself into a victim of unconscious people. Sometimes a situation may demand that you tell someone to back off in no uncertain terms. Without egoic defensiveness, there will be power behind your words, yet no reactive force. If necessary, you can also say no to someone firmly and clearly. It will be what I call a high quality no that is free of all negativity. If you are content with being nobody in particular, content not to stand out, you align yourself with the power of the universe. What looks like weakness to the ego is, in fact, the only true strength. This spiritual truth is diametrically opposed to the values of your contemporary culture and the way if conditions and the way it conditions people to behave. Instead of trying to be the mountain, teaches the instead of trying to be the mountain, teaches the ancient Tao teaching, be the valley of the universe. In this way, you are restored to wholeness, and so all things will come to you. Similarly, Jesus, in one of his parables, teaches that when you are invited, go and sit in the lowest place so that when your host comes, he may say to you, "Friend, move up higher." Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at table with you. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. Another aspect of this practice is to refrain from attempting to strengthen the self by showing off, wanting to stand out, be special, make an impression, or demand attention. It may include occasionally refraining from expressing your opinion when everybody is expressing his or hers and seeing what that feels like. So, anyone wants to take over? We are stopping now. We'll continue. As without, so
I
within.
was wait. I was ideally wanting to finish the chapter, but I don't know if it's too big or heavy. No, it is just two more pages. Let's finish it. Do you want to read or I can read also?
Yeah,
I'll
if
take
you
from
want
you,
to.
Deepa.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll
okay.
take from. As without, so within. When you look up at the clear sky at night, you may easily realize a truth at once, utterly simple and extraordinarily profound. What is that you see? The moon, planets, stars, the luminous band of the Milky Way, perhaps a comet, or even the neighboring Andromeda galaxy, 2 million light years away. Yes, but if you simply even more, what do you see? Okay, but if you simplify even more, what do you see? Objects floating in space. So, what does the universe consist of? Objects and space. If you don't become speechless when looking out into space on a clear night, you're not really looking, no aware of the totality of what is there. You're probably only looking at the objects and perhaps seeking to name them. If you have ever experienced a sense of awe when looking into space, perhaps even felt a deep reverence in the face of this incomprehensible mystery, it means you must have relinquished for a moment your desire to explain and label, and have become aware not only of the objects in the space but of the infinite depth of space itself. You must have become still enough, feeling still enough inside to notice the vastness in which these countless worlds exist. The feeling of awe is not derived from the fact that there are billions of worlds out there, but the depth that contains them all. You cannot see space, of course, nor can you hear, touch, taste, or smell it. So, how do you even know it exists? This logical sounding question already contains a fundamental error. The essence of space is nothingness. Nothingness, it can be. Nothingness is written as nothingness is written as no thingness. So it doesn't exist in the normal sense of the word. only things forms exist. Even calling it space can be misleading because by naming it, you make it into an object. Let us put it like this: there is something within you that has an affinity with space. That is why you can be aware of it. Aware of it? That's not totally true either, because how you be aware of space if there is nothing there to be aware of? The answer is both simple and profound. When you are aware of space, you are not really aware of anything except awareness itself, the inner space of consciousness. Through you, the universe is becoming aware of itself. When the eye finds a thing to see, that nothingness is perceived as space. When the ear finds nothing to hear, that nothingness is perceived as stillness. When the senses, which are designed to perceive form, meet an absence of form, the formless consciousness that lie behind perception and makes all perception, all experience possible, is no longer obscured by form. When you contemplate the unfathomable depth of space or listen to the silence in the early hours, just before sunrise, something within you resonates with it as if in recognition. You then sense the vast depth of space as your own depth, and you know that precious stillness that has no form to be more deeply who you are than of the and any of the things that make up the content of your life. The Upanishads, the ancient scriptures of India, point to the same truth with these words: what cannot be seen with the eye, but that whereby the eye can see, know that alone to be Brahman, the spirit, and not what people here adore. What cannot be heard with the ear, but whereby the ear can hear, know that alone to be Brahman, the spirit, and not what people here adore. What cannot be taught with the mind, but whereby the mind can think, know that alone to be Brahman, the spirit, and not what people here adore. God, the scripture is saying, is formless consciousness and the essence of who you are. Everything else is form, is what people here adore. The twofold reality of the universe, which consists of things and space, thingness and no thingness, is also your own. A sane, balanced, and fruitful human life is a dance between the two dimensions that make up reality, form and space. Most people are so identified with the dimension of form, with sense perceptions, thoughts, and emotions, that the vital hidden half is missing from their lives. The identification with form keeps them trapped in ego. What you see, hear, feel, touch, or think about is only one half of reality, so to speak. It is form. In the teaching of Jesus, it is simply called the world, and the other dimension is the kingdom of heaven or eternal life. Just as space enables all things to exist, and just as without silence there could be no sound, you would not exist without the vital, formless dimension that is the essence of who you are. We could say God if the word has not been so misused. I prefer calling it being. Being is prior to existence. Existence is form, content, what happens. Existence is the foreground of life, being in the background, as it were. The collective disease of humanity is that people are so engrossed in what happens, so hypnotized by the world of fluctuating forms, so absorbed in the content of their lives, they have forgotten the essence, that which is beyond content, beyond form, beyond thought. They are so consumed by time that they have forgotten eternity, which is their origin, their home, their destiny. Eternity is a living reality of who you are. Some years ago, when visiting China, I came upon a stupa on a mountain top near Gulin. It had writing embossed in gold on it, and I asked my Chinese host what it meant. It means Buddha, he said. Why are there two characters rather than one? I asked. One, he explained, means a man, the other means no, and the two together means Buddha. I stood there in awe. The character of Buddha already contained the whole teaching of the Buddha, and for those who have eyes to see, the secret of life. Here are the two dimensions that make up reality: thingness and no thingness, form and the denial of form. which is the recognition that form is not who you are. Okay, we are done with the chapter. It was so deep, so much highly spiritual, difficult to process, definitely. But yeah, let's just open up and share whatever we could understand from the chapter, and maybe I'm suggesting please listen to the podcast, because the podcast will definitely help better than what we are just reading from the book. A little more insight, and obviously this is deep, and I feel we will understand only as we evolve. Or maybe parts of it we must have understood, so we can just share that for now. Yeah, yeah.
May I?
Deepa? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Suman or
Thank you.
Deepa? Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
who?
please,
Everyone.
Deepaji, go ahead.
So I just a short observation. In English, no, we don't have a future tense, a dedicated future tense. We form the future tense only by using an auxiliary verbs or an. So basically, it's an intention. You we use the word will or going to or various other formats are that, but the primary idea is that in English there is no future tense. There's only present, past, and maybe a continuous tense. But as such, we don't have a proper dedicated future form. Okay. Now said that, the writer is also conveying this, um, that living in the present, how important it is. The minute we go into the future, that becomes the present. The past is gone, so we can't hold on to it. We can maybe learn from it, carry on with it, the experience from that. And the second thing, which very hard hitting and which we all know, is the story of Stephen Hawking. He was so prolific, so profound in his output, dedication to his field, in spite of having so many impediments. He only had his mind. He didn't have a voice. He didn't have his limbs to function, but still he so contributed so much and philosophy. It's amazing. So what we consider, whatever we are gifted with, our limbs, our five senses, the hands, the eyes, and the ability to speak, when one of these things doesn't function due to, now is a season for all these allergies and cold, so we become so small, and we feel we are incapable. But then when we look at such people like Stephen Hawking and various other people, the foot and hand artists, they don't have anything, all these things which we are so blessed with, and we crib and cry about certain small incapabilities in us, inabilities in us, and inconveniences in us. But all these things are actually not required. Without that, also, just our mind is functioning and it lacks the ego. We are not responding to any frustration, anger in the negative way. We just let it go. We are keeping quiet. We don't respond. We don't become small. We don't diminish ourselves. We don't erode ourselves. In fact, we expand and we become bigger. So that is a very big thing, for me, thinking for the past few days is that, certain beliefs we are conditioned to live in a society with its philosophies. When we don't accept it, it is just better to move away from it rather than fighting or rebelling against it. So my interpretation of religion, it's again my own perception, how I have seen it. When Gautam Buddha or Jesus Christ or any of the spiritualists, any of the religious leaders, they went against the religion in which they were born, in which they grew up, in which they were groomed to be in. But they didn't like certain aspects of it, so they moved away and they formed their own philosophy. when they formed their own philosophy, they did not disrespect, reject the previous philosophies or the spiritual practices, the religious forms they came from. They did not reject it or say anything. They just simply moved away from that. So my take is sometimes it happens that in our relationships, at workplace and personal, anywhere in our friendship, instead of fighting and rebelling, it is better to just move away. I'm not saying form a new religion. I'm simply saying that it's better to not to have any negative feeling or trying to make people understand our belief system. It is best to move away and lead a life in which we feel authenticated, we feel we are comfortable in. So we don't have to fit into anyone's dimension. We don't have to fit into anything which is um, going to, break our own belief system. So our belief system, our ethics, values are our own. Our attitude towards what is happening around us, if it goes against our belief system, people are being judgmental or causing anger, and our ego is, growing. It's better to move away from that instead of shrinking and fighting. We have to just move away from that and believe in what we are doing without hurting anyone. So that the idea of getting angry, frustration doesn't come then. So that is one thing I've been thinking about and processing it in my mind to deal with various things. So, and the collective disease of humanity is that people are so engrossed in what happens, so hypnotized by the world of fluctuating forms, so absorbed in the content of their lives, they have forgotten the essence, that which is beyond content, beyond form, beyond thought. Yeah, this was a very big thing for me. Again, when we look at the sky, we are not seeing the future. When we look at the sky, the space, we are only seeing the past. We are not even seeing the present. Actually, the sun we are seeing is 8 minutes older sun. So uh, the nothingness or nothingness is the reality. So again, it takes me back to another thing. The temple in Tamil Nadu, Chidambaram temple, it deals with this concept only. Okay, thank you. Maybe I went little overboard, but I had to just say these things. Thank you.
No, no, thank you. Thank you for processing it. That's what we're trying to do, right? So, no, no, no problem. Thank you for sharing that. So, for me also, that Stephen Hawking story really stood out. And basically, I was just researching and I was just looking about some of his info a few days back, and there is a movie on him also. So I am really wanting to go ahead and look for it also. And yes, his life story is a perfect depiction of what the author is trying to help us understand. And from what I understand is it's very, very small things. What he has mentioned is very deep indeed. It will take some time to even process that. For me, what I understand so far is like our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. So whenever we are experiencing any friction or any disalignment, I think there is something that needs to work upon internally. And if we do that rightly, things outside also change around us. And I also remember, like he also mentioned the Veda, like the Upanishads, right, like Indian culture. But I was also able to remember that in Indian, this thing they call this, right, they call this Maya. They call this they we have a lot of research and a lot of things coming from our own ancestral wisdom, which they call, right, like panchabhutas, the five elements. Our body is made of these five elements, and our inner astral, this thing like akasha is one of the tattva that they say, right, like it is within us and it is also outside us. And we are there is a quote also, I don't remember that exactly. It says like, uh, as it is in Brahmand, that's how it is in your body. So he talked about that part also. So I think it's very deep indeed. And yes, he talked about this, we naming the objects. If we don't name them, and if we just see them out of curiosity, they can be totally different. So basically, it's all about experiencing everything. more fully. And I also liked what he shared about surrender and acceptance. So that surrender, Stephen Hawking's story also was explained to talk about surrender. So when we are in surrender to what is happening to us, maybe there is less drama, and we're in more acceptance of the way things as are. And I think that helps us process and navigate through life more effortlessly and more easily, is what I understood from the chapter also. And yeah, so far only these few pointers that uh, I could understand, and I think most of the part of the chapter I found it a bit heavier to understand and process. So I feel maybe I'll have to read, or maybe after few years I would understand it fully, or when I evolve to that level, or maybe the podcast listening and things might help a little bit. So yeah, but it was quite profound. So yeah. Anyone else wants to share or add something?
Yeah, otherwise, you and Deepaji has explained very beautifully and covered all. But my takeaway, though it was all same what you have already explained, that the whole story is about ego repair mechanism. How our relationship with now is, it matters a lot. It affects all areas of our life, and the paradox of time is that it changes constantly. So the main thing is that how we take our present. And I was impressed with Stephen Hawking's example, especially with the quote that published in the newspaper. What he said, that who could have uh, who could have wished more when I am living in the age of voice synthesizer. That was really wonderful. How he surrendered his life, and there was spark in his eyes even after getting that motor neuron disease, totally paralyzed. Yeah.
Yeah, I could connect with that too. Like the same parts. I was like I love to read like today. So yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you for
thank
bringing
you.
that up. But I had forgotten about the relationship with the present moment. Yeah, that is also the first time I heard this today. So I have heard about relationship with time, relationship with space, relationship with everything, but never heard of relationship with the present moment. So yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So they say, na, like you are as much as you are able to be in the present moment, you experience life more deeply and fully, and we are at peace. We are more, I think, connected. So yeah, I think it talks about this in a gist. Thank you for beautiful additions. It helps us understand better.
Yeah,
So yeah,
thank you.
anyone
Thank
else
you.
wants
Yeah.
to? Yeah, anyone else wants to say or add something, or we can call it a day otherwise.
And one more line I remember, that ego treats the present uh, as a means to an end, as an obstacle, and it takes its enemy. I think 3 points were there. How ego takes the present.
Yes, yes. It treats as you have it talked about the relationship you have. That's how ego sees it. Like same, no?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, very yeah, yeah. That was also enlightening. So nice pointers. Thank you for pointing that out. It will be very helpful for us to understand if we are able to practically see through these learnings in our day-to-day lives. So if we can just point out things where we are actually able to identify what is now conceptual for us into real life, what is what how in small incidents and moments that happen with us, I think that will help us elevate.
Hmm.
Yeah, and do listen to the podcast also. Anything that you have missed, I would highly insist, please listen to the podcast. If you have been missing on the podcast, then maybe after we are finishing with the book, also you can go back and listen to them. But please do, I would say, because that will help you make the most of the reading and invested time that we have been doing right now. Because otherwise, some things will go inside and some things will just uh, vanish after a few days. So better you just listen to the podcast so that at least something that is necessary for us at this particular point and stage of our life stays with us, and then they will help us evolve a little more than whatever our current understanding and awareness. So that's why I'm insisting on it, because the podcast makes it even easier to understand compared to the just the book reading and our discussions, is what I have realized. So that's why I'm insisting. So yeah. Anyone else wants to add something? Please do.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we can close.
yeah, good morning,
Yeah,
all.
Manish.
Yeah, so the thing is, when we talk anything with related to ego, so basically we are concentrating our mind on the past or the future aspect of our life, basically. But not the future is in our control, and not the past is on control. So the idea from this book is focus on the present, because the present is the moment that you have with you to take action or whatever you want to do, right? So, and how we can do that is, we need to grow ourselves, in the all the four areas on a daily basis, like spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. And how we can do that is, our mind and our thoughts are like they're so fluid like water. They take the shape of the vessel we put the water in, right? So at the same time, the point is, at the same time, we need to create the environment around us, like our family, parent, our near friends, our mentors, and the people we interact with, because they help us to stay in alignment with our intention, like, what we want to become. So, and also, we are average of the five people we spend time with. So the point is, focus on the present moment, because that is the only thing that you have in your hand. But what happen is we are so engrossed by our past experiences, future expectations, and so many things like that, then we we sometimes we don't focus enough on the present moment. But the idea from this book is, you need to completely focus on the present moment, and you have to, whatever you intend to become, like focus on the present moment on a day-to-day basis with so much intention and deepness that your life depends on it, and things like that. As Shah Rukh Khan, he said in so many in social media that uh, if you focus on something so deeply on a regular basis that your life depends on it, then the universe will conspire to achieve that. Just like your uh, when your thoughts and beliefs get aligned with your actions, right? So, and when we completely focus on the present moment, then we are working at our best capacity of our body and mind and spiritually and so many things like that. So so the point is, like, don't stick to the ego, because ego is not out of your control. Ego will not help you. It will only deviate you from your present actions and things like that, which are important to you. So I think we need to focus on the present moment every day, and make whatever small improvements with our best effort, with best intention, and with whatever best environment we have. And I believe, like, writing at the same time, we need to keep writing about ourselves, like how we are progressing, like how we are with with this context in mind, like focusing on the present. So when we keep writing about ourselves on a day-to-day basis, at the end of the day, that, okay, how am I going in the right direction? So writing will keep you in control. It will help you to know, are you deviating, how much you are deviating, what do you need to do, and things like that. So the thing is, forget the ego and just focus on the moment, and because this is what you need to become, what you want to. Yeah. So focus on your intention, action, what truly matters, right?
So what I understand is, Manishji, like it is more about in the beingness and in the nothingness, where we are not actually focused on any goal or anything, but just focus on being present in whatever is happening at this particular moment. So it's not about anything in the future or in the past, or any desire as such, but it's just about experiencing things as they are, because it talks about that nothingness, right? The formlessness. So this is what I feel the chapter of today highlighted, at least. So yeah, a little maybe in controversial to what you're saying, But yeah, obviously what you shared is of very much value. But I think the chapter today was talking a little bit in opposite of what we are like maybe discussing right now.
I didn't realize I got
It's
disconnected
about
actually.
it's sorry, what?
Actually, I got disconnected. I didn't realize that I got disconnected because I just logged in.
Yeah, so that is why I just thought I might just add, because it's better like we reflect upon what we read, right? Because otherwise there is a lot of motivational content out there that is not enough any which ways. So if we just reflect on what we read, that helps us process it a little further, like helping us understand it better. And we can actually have like maybe a summarizing or something later on, where we can actually have our own perspectives added to whatever we have learned, maybe. So yeah, but yeah, thank you for sharing
Mansi,
that.
yeah, I think making a personal diary, writing in your personal diary every day. I think it makes a lot of difference, like how we progress in life. That's what I believe because it helps you stay in control, get in alignment. Because what happens is that our monkey mind will not rest completely. It will always, there are always low and high days, emotionally, non-emotionally. But when we are writing in our personal diary, right? So we can have a better control on our actions and emotions, basically. So that helps to stay in control. What I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, Manishji, yeah, journaling is important, noting down is important, but the point is what we write, what we understand, based on that, the writing starts, right? So the thought process is what the writer is talking about here. How we process things, how we look at things first. That is the ego he's talking about, not the ego as in the regular sense.
Yeah. But my point is,
Ego is how it's writing comes later.
no, I
Writing
understand
comes
that.
later. Hmm.
Yeah, but what I'm saying
Anyway,
is,
yeah.
writing is a good measurement of how well you are progressing in your day as per what you plan to do, right? Sometimes
Mm.
if you don't.
But that is not the focus. That is what Mansi is also saying. It's about how what is happening in the present, and how do we react to it. So, noting down, making a journal is important, yes, but it slightly deviates from what is. Anyway, just my interpretation. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mansi,
Okay, chalo.
the
Yeah,
AI, no, it is seeing this book as
the
uh,
power of now,
the
I don't
power
know
of
why.
now.
Yeah,
It is not
because it mentioned
interpreting it as the new
maybe
earth.
what
I
you
don't know
can
why that
do,
is
like,
happening.
yeah, even now I have corrected it while just putting the notes out. What I think maybe we can do is, like when we take notes, we can just put like ourselves the name, like a new earth. Maybe once or
Oh
twice
no,
if we
when we
do that.
begin the reading, no, we should mention the book and then start reading. Maybe the power of now
Yeah,
and the new
yeah.
earth, no, it overlaps. Certain
Monday.
ideas are overlapping. That's why the
Yeah,
confusion is happening. So when we
yeah,
start
maybe.
reading, every reading, every time, every book, we should name the book and then start reading so that the AI doesn't get confused.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. That's a great suggestion. Monday onwards, we'll do that. And it's just three more chapters left now, I guess. It's 10 chapter book, right? So let's see how big they are. I don't know. Depending on that, maybe I'm hoping next week we'll
It's
finish
less
it. And then
than
after that, we'll take the happiness project, Deepa. The
yeah,
new this thing, and then
yeah, yeah,
we'll take a little lighter book next, because this is
yeah.
this
Maybe
became very
something to
heavy.
do with finance, maybe with making
Yeah,
money.
but
We
again,
have
I
been
feel
too
that
much
will become
into
heavier.
spiritual
And,
and
and in the
spiritual
afternoon, we
things.
are planning.
So let's get
Yeah,
little
let's
materialistic now.
let yeah, no, yeah, I agree. Like, rather than, in fact, I was thinking something fun, not even
Yeah.
spiritual or like not even finance, because I think even in the afternoon, after this 12 week, I think they're going to take the psychology of money, because that was the highest
Oh,
voted book
okay. So
last
the
time.
money thing is coming in the afternoon, no? The psychology
Yeah.
of money is what I started reading yesterday. Housel, Morgan
Oh,
Housel. Yeah,
yeah, that's a great book by
yeah.
recommended by so many
He,
people. So maybe we will
mm,
take that next. So in the morning, we can take a little something which is maybe you can suggest some very small books that you have normally. They are great.
Yeah.
So you can suggest few
Mansi,
of
one
those.
book you were saying about mind mapping also. Is that possible?
We can take that also. That is also an easy
Yeah,
read.
that would be great.
Uh,
Yeah, that would be great.
and it will be a different read altogether. Otherwise, it becomes very heavy, na? Like just
And
these
that
type of
becomes
things.
activity based also. Like as we are reading, we can have a pen and a book and we can do those mind mapping activities. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, maybe even if we don't do it, we can do it throughout the day or something.
Yes,
Let's see.
yes.
Let's take something different this time so that we like it's on a lighter note is what I want to say. Or maybe if something like how the earlier books that we read, maybe 1 or 2 days read type of books, or 3 days read kind of a book, very easy, light books with some good messages. That way also. Deepa, you know better in this area. I don't know much. So if you can suggest any books accordingly, we can consider those also. Let's see.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
let's do
Yeah, all
something.
of us can put some suggestions. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
there is one book I want to read, especially in the morning time. It will be a good read. It's by the name Flow. So that is a nice book. Like I have not read it, but I've heard a lot about it. It's again about being in the flow. But I feel immediately after this, let's not take it because it kind be maybe on a similar tone, maybe not exactly the same thing, but still. But so let's take something else after this. Happiness project will be there in between and after that. So yeah. Okay then. Thank you everyone. Have a great weekend. Wish you a very
Yeah,
happy weekend. Let's see you all on Monday. Bye. Take care.
Thank you all. Thank you. Have a great